Hey Mavs, this video recruit tip is going to be about what should be in your initial email when you contact coaches. So make sure, obviously, the basic information, it's a great thing to put in your title of your email and your subject line. Don't leave that blank. So make sure you have your name, your grad year, your height, and your position. Those are kind of the 5 key points we want you to touch on throughout the email so that they know who you are. Make sure that they're recruiting your position. So make sure when you're addressing the coach, you say coach and then put their last name. Some coaches are really particular about whether or not they want to be called by their first name or last name. So let's err on the safe side and put it their last name only. Make sure that you have full sentences, that your grammar is good. Another thing to think about is have personality in these emails. Don't make them very bland and make them straight to the point, but make sure that you have your personality in there, and so that they can kind of see what kind of energy you have. Make sure it includes something outside of volleyball. Obviously, academics is number one of those things. So if you've taken the ACT, make sure you include that score. If you are planning on taking it, make sure that they know when you're planning on taking it. Make sure they have your GPA in there. But something else outside of volleyball. So if you have a great fun hobby, if you have 12 brothers and sisters, something that's, we call it Velcro, something that's going to make you stick out in a positive way to these coaches when they get these emails in their inbox. Okay. Some other things to make sure that you have in there is a correct link to your recruiting profiles and or highlight videos. That's really important so that they can make sure they just click on your email, make it as simple as you can for them. We don't want them to have to work to figure out who you are. Okay. Make sure that you touch on both your high school and club. You never know if they can make a high school game, if they know your coaches, something like that. So the more connections that you can possibly give to them, the better. So touch on what's going on in your high school season. Are you guys playing? What's your record right now? How things are going for you guys? What level you are playing at? So whatever division you're in, 5A, 6A. As well as, maybe last year you guys won the state tournament. Touch on that a little bit as well. Include any awards that you've had. So academically and athletically, I think those are really good to include both of those subjects because, again, you're going to go be a student athlete at these schools. So if you have any accolades that you've had, go ahead and include them in there. If you have a ton, just pick some of your top ones. We don't want there to be a list of like 20 things on there. And they don't even get to the content in the email because they're scrolling through all that stuff, which great problem to have if you do. When you are sending these emails, I suggest checking back in every 1 to 2 weeks if you're really interested in the school and you're getting responses back. Be really timely in those. We don't want them responding to you and then waiting a month to finally hear back from you. So 1 to 2 weeks for that. If you're still have a really wide window of schools that you're sending this to, say you're sending it to 30 or 40 schools, a good thing to go by is 1 or 2 months. That tends to be when new stuff could possibly be happening for you. So send that one right now. That's going to be your high school check-in. This is what's going on. Looking forward to club. We're setting our club schedule. As soon as I get that information, I'll let you know. So then, when we start November practices, another great time to say, hey, I'm in club season. We've set our schedule. Looking forward to seeing you. All that kind of stuff. So every 1 to 2 months is a good time to continue your check-in. And that's going to be specifically for our younger players, 15, 16s, and even some of our 17s. But 17s and 18-year-olds, you should be having smaller lists, okay? So when it comes to those, I want you to be okay with asking direct questions. If you've visited their campus or you've had contact with them over and over, ask them, where do I stand on your list? Am I number 1, number 2? And then tell them, you're one of my top schools. I'm really interested. I would like to be committed by, and then give your timeline date. I think it's really important for us to ask those questions if you want those answers in return. Sure, you're going to get some disappointing things of like, hey, we're not ready to make you an offer, doesn't fit our timeline, or you're number 4 or 5 on our list and we're going to go after those ones above you first. But you need that information to be able to make sure that this process works for you. Okay. So Another thing that you can also do if you haven't visited campus or set up some of those next steps, then ask for it. Hey, I'd love to set up a phone call with you this weekend. If you have time, what works for you. And that would be something that you can do at any age. If you're really interested in the school, I wouldn't waste their time if you don't know anything about the school yet. But if you're like, I'm wanting to push to get that campus visit set up, an initial phone call is always a great thing to set up first. And you can do that at any level. I know there's some restrictions when it comes to them being able to call you, but you are allowed to call them. You can always leave them a message if they don't answer, telling them, and this is specifically for 15 and 16-year-olds, if you call a Division I coach and they don't answer, you can send them a text or a message and say, hey, I'm going to call you again at this time. Okay, so it's a great way to get a hold of them. Let's not bug them too much. So if they are like, yes, I'd love to get on a phone call with you, then that's the time that we can start pushing for that. Get those visits set up as well. So again, kind of more for our 17s, 18s. Make sure that you're pushing to get on campuses as much as you possibly can. I know right now it's a little bit crazy with high school, but unfortunately, there's never a good time. You're going to go right into club season and probably be just as busy then. So if you have free weekends or open weekends, really push to get on campuses. That's going to be the next step that you should be driving towards after you get these emails sent out. So lots of information when it comes to what to put in those initial emails. Again, check your grammar, have a good personality in them, and ask those direct questions that you want answers to that will help your recruiting process be more successful. Always include your personal information over and over. Put it in the subject line, put it in the first paragraph, and then put it in your signature. Send these to me if you need me to proofread for you. And again, if you've done the initial steps that we talked about in the last video, you should have an email composed, your highlight videos done, and profiles online that you can include in these emails that you send out. So best of luck, and I hope you guys are having a great week. Thanks.